конференции «Foresight и научно-техническая инновационная политика». Пожалуйста, ознакомьтесь с инструкциями для участников нашего мероприятия. Для удобства коммуникации просим всех участников указать имя и фамилию на английском языке. Изменить данные вы можете в профиле, выбрав опцию «Переименовать». Просьба для качества связи в момент выступления докладчика остальным участникам держать микрофоны выключенными. Вы можете воспользоваться синхронным переводом, нажав на опцию «Перевод» на панели инструмента внизу экрана и выбрать необходимый аудиоканал. Если вы планируете выступать или слушать заседания на русском языке, вам необходимо выбрать русскоязычный аудиоканал. Если на английском – англоязычный. Если вам не нужен перевод, пожалуйста, оставьте данную опцию выключенной. Также вы можете задать вопрос или прокомментировать выступление. Для этого нужно воспользоваться опцией «Оставить сообщение в чате». Спасибо за внимание.
Welcome to the 10th International Academic Conference, Foresight and Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. Please view the instructions for the participants of our event. To facilitate communication, please introduce yourself by indicating your first name and last name. You can change the data in your profile by selecting the rename option. To ensure the high quality of communication, please keep your microphones muted at all times unless you make a presentation. The event is conducted with simultaneous interpretation. You can use this option by pressing the interpretation button on the keyboard at the bottom of the screen and by selecting the audio channel in the language in which you will present yourself or listen to other speakers. If you would like to listen to the session reports in English, please press English. For Russian language, please choose the Russian language channel. If you do not need translation, please leave this option switched off. You can ask a question or comment on the presentation. To do so, please use option Zoom group chat. Please specify the name of the speaker whom you would like to address. Thank you for your attention.
So good morning, dear friends. So we'll start in 2 minutes. I will be your moderator. Thank you very much for your participation. And if you have problems and or some questions, we will be glad to answer them. Hi, Asta. Hi, Kaya. Long time no see.
Good morning. Well, it's still morning at my side.
Yeah, and what time is it? I wonder, in Ireland.
It's 9 o'clock in Iceland. So.
Okay. It's even better than 12. There will be 5 speakers here, and we could ask to each other questions after each presentation. And also people looking at us at YouTube in English and in Russian, and they could also write their questions, and I will tell you about it. Организаторы, тогда скажите, когда мы выйдем в эфир.
Добрый день, мы в эфире, только единственное, переводчику надо, по-моему, не в тот канал переводить.
Мне нужно с этим что-то сделать сейчас, с этой информацией?
So what about this information? So the interpretation is provided.
Продолжайте, пожалуйста.
Please continue. So, dear colleagues, a very good day. I'm pleased to see you at this session dedicated to quite an important topic of exchanging best practices of how to handle COVID-19 and the ensuing crisis. The pandemic is peaking now, is at an apex, and yesterday sad news came. One of the leaders of the cluster movement in Russia died. Head of the Innovation Development Agency of the Kaluga region, Anatoly Sotnikov, passed away. It is indeed a bereavement for the whole of the cluster community. I'd like to dedicate our session to his remembrance, and I hope that we will find benefit in each other's presentations, we'll find agility and energy to deliver the new solutions in our regions and countries, and we will contribute, being the cluster managers, in preserving more lives and recovering from the crisis. Today I'd like to discuss the following issues. Definitely it is an unexpected crisis, and it's quite a formidable one, and the main point is what new organizational solutions have been found, and whether functionalities have been changed, and whether new formats of interaction with the business community have been found by clusters, and what has proved to be efficient and what can help restore the economy of the regions. This is the main question, quite high on the agenda. And as a supplement, I'd like to mention one thing. Us being cluster professionals, and myself in particular, have long been leaning upon direct offline or physical contacts, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. We thought that it is about groping each other for mutual interests and finding new opportunities, and that would be the shortcut towards arriving at new projects. Now we are seeing that these contacts are being limited, and the digitalization is with us, will stay with us for long. And I would be grateful to everybody if you answer the question, what functions have been digitalized, and what functions you failed to digitalize, and that will be important for us to start implementing new practices. I'm so glad that we are having 5 major practitioners: Fabio Russo, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization's senior representative, Kaya Ura-Benzail, head of infrastructure and healthcare sections and divisions from Berlin Partner for Business Technology, and Mr. Brandenburg, ASTA, Iceland Tourism Cluster, Faina Filina, head of external communications of the Moscow Medical Cluster, and Anatoly Valet of Moscow Innovation Cluster. Colleagues, I suggest we should not exceed the timeline of 15 minutes. Myself, being the moderator, will keep track of time. If you are concise, we will have time for Q&A, which will be a very good thing. With this, I would finish my introduction, and I would now yield to Fabio Russo. That will you please tell us what new support UNIDO provides to clusters and what best practices around the globe you have been able to witness, and can you share them with us? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. I'm really thankful to be here together with you today. And I am working at UNIDO in Vienna, headquarters, but because of the lockdown, working from home like all my colleagues. I'm really sorry, and my condolences to the colleague who just passed away, I understand. UNIDO is the specialized agency of the United Nations with a focus on inclusive and sustainable industrial development. And in its mandate, the cluster program is one of the most important program to assist small and medium enterprises. In my presentation, now I'm going to share my screen, I will focus on two concrete examples after a short introduction of what UNIDO program on cluster development is about. So I'm now going to share my presentation. Let's see if it works. Just a second.
Yes, it works. I see it.
Yes, it's okay. Good. So, UNIDO has been working for more than 30 years in the implementation of cluster network development projects in, I would say, all world. And as you can see from the map, very different countries in terms of development. And at the same time, not only the diversity of the country where we have been working is rather remarkable, but the sectors in which we have implemented cluster projects. The sectors which goes from creative industries, support to artisans, so kind of very pro-poor development type of projects, agribusiness, but also including high-tech advanced industries like automotive. And I will make an example on the automotive cluster project in Colombia, medical instruments. And our intervention is at three levels, basically the macro level, when we support countries to develop and implement cluster policies and strategies. At the meso level, by developing a cluster governance mechanism and a cluster action planning and following the implementation and monitoring. And finally, at the micro level, by supporting cluster firms. These are just some of the tools and methodologies that we have developed and which are all freely available in our cluster development platform, UNIDO Cluster for Development. As you can see, they go from the first tool is the general one on the UNIDO approach to cluster development. Then we have very specific guidelines on, for instance, how to mainstream gender in cluster development, how to promote cluster twinning. On the second row, you can see some of the working papers and guidelines that we have recently developed with a focus on typical food products, the linkages between agro-food, tourism, and creative industries, short food value chains, which are very important. And in fact, I have selected, as I said, the two examples, one in Colombia, automotive, the other one is on cluster, agri-industrial cluster in Tunisia. Because of this terrible pandemic, which is striking all countries all over the world, we have been working a lot since March in helping SMEs to recover from COVID, as well as to build resilience of SMEs, as well as the ecosystem clusters in which SMEs are working. And these are just some of the manual tools that we have developed. Let me go now immediately to my two examples, automotive cluster in Colombia and agribusiness clusters in Tunisia. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic, as we know, is disrupting global value chains and local production systems in basically all sectors. But it also has increased, I would say, the alarm on the need to transform the world food system, which is a major driver of climate change and biodiversity loss, as it contributes for more than a third of all emission. And this, let's say, challenge was even before, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, but the COVID-19 pandemic has made it even more dramatic. The first example on the automotive cluster in Colombia basically shows you need intervention on how we have helped a number of interconnected clusters which formed the automotive sector in Colombia to overcome, to recover and restart production. The second example on agribusiness cluster in Tunisia is about promoting the development, building resilience, and investment in the sustainable future of agricultural clusters in Tunisia. And this is a program that we are implementing in many other countries. Colombia. The map shows the 5 main automotive clusters. Bogota and Medellin are those where there is the highest concentration of companies. There is approximately 123 suppliers of original equipment manufacturers. We are working with these 123 suppliers by upgrading the companies, enhancing market linkages, supporting the conformity to quality standards, promoting innovation, as well as giving public policy advice on the sector. It's a project financed by the Korean International Cooperation Agency. On the 20 March 2020, because of COVID, the government ordered the temporary closure of non-essential companies, which of course caused severe disruption of the global automotive value chains. So what we did, and we did various interventions, but I just selected 2. One which shows how we have been supporting SMEs to work together to promote a joint, let's say, reaction to this pandemic. And for instance, one initiative, simple but effective, was to develop a joint project catalog portfolio of medical device and PPE produced by auto part clusters, which included 133 products. We provided training and support through webinars and also offering these medical devices manufactured by the clusters to hundreds of buyers. And already in May 2020, so shortly after our intervention on the recovery, we got, the enterprises got various quotations. So this was just an example of how, if you work together as companies, even competing companies, by identifying complementary products, you can be more effective in reaching potential buyers. Even more important for the impact which it has, it was this public-private partnership involving the government as well as industry associations to develop guidelines for the auto industry to restart production. And these guidelines on the industry reactivation were validated by the association, used, and this is very important, as a basis by other sectors because of its content, which was about worker protection, production revival strategy, and with a focus, with an idea on promoting a sustainability and recovery, a sustainability growth in this recovery phase. 37 cluster firms were supported directly to restart production, various trainings were conducted, and more than 500 participants from other sectors. So this shows how it is necessary in this cluster optics to always involve both public and private sector if you want to have a real impact. And on the right-hand corner of the screen, you can see the president of Colombia, Mr. Duque, with the Minister of Commerce, acknowledging and the work of UNIDO, which, as we said, was then also transferred to other sectors. In Tunisia, as I said, our focus is on agro-industry or simple agro clusters. And with the idea that we work there in many clusters in different rural areas of the country with the idea of building resilience, of helping small producers, women, young people to improve their income by adding value to their products and not competing with, let's say, commodities or things. And this is the example I have chosen is about a cluster which is 4,000 inhabitants in a mountain village in the northeast of Tunisia, where one of the main products, not the only one, but the most important product is a fig. It's a fig which had received a protected geographical indication in 2012, but this protected geographical indication was not implemented until UNIDO project in 2013. Geographical indications are very important in Europe and many countries all over the world if they are well implemented, because they are able to really position their products which benefit of this geographical indication as unique, and consumers are more and more willing to purchase these products at much higher prices than the normal one. And this just shows, and I will go a bit faster, how we did the traceability process in the implementation of this geographical indication by this identifying those which are compliant with some product specifications. Of course, for a simple product like that, it's not as complex as when you have to implement a geographic indication for, like, I don't know, olive oil or some meat. I mean, I come from Italy, where we have all these famous products like Parmigiano, prosciutto di Parma, etc. But this proved to be particularly effective also in this small rural cluster, because within 5 years, the price for the farmers increased by 142%. Here in the slide shows how the products are promoted as a specialty of the country. And you have these wholesaler, retailer, niche markets where the product is to be actively promoted. We also organize gastronomic events, because one of the things, if you want to add value to the product and convince consumers to pay more, is by inviting, by communicating. And so you invite a chef, which shows what you can do with that product. And you use several promotional tools, as well as we have also promoted the products in many Arab countries. And the other thing was diversify the production, including in this diversification, in this development process, women, which before were doing, like, for instance, dried figs, marmalades, juices, just for self-consumption. But what we had to do was to support them in complying with safety standards, in improving the packaging, in marketing their products. And that's where it came also the creation of cooperatives, self-help groups, which is always the optic of the clusters, helping small producer or SMEs, like in the case of automotive, to work together to overcome common threat, but take benefits of joint opportunities. Then the other thing was to link this production with tourism, diversifying. This is always the idea. You want to build resilience, you want to create additional economic opportunities. So that's where a great opportunity for these beautiful mountain clusters to do it. And so together with the Tunisian Tourism Board and other institutions, we basically did various activities, like, for instance, set up of an annual fig festival, organizing these fig markets, promoting the products in dedicated shops. It's mainly a local tourism, people from the capital, Tunis, or from other regions. But this was very much motivating the farmers. And you can see also on the left corner, the farmers painting their houses with the colors of the fig. And the recognition, very important by FAO in 2020, of Jebba cluster as a globally important agricultural heritage systems, which brings together biodiversity, resilience, and cultural heritage. Finally, and I conclude, with these two examples, I wanted to show what was our objective: recover from the disruptive effects of COVID-19, but also build resilience and promote inclusiveness and sustainability. And we worked, again, at 3 levels. These micro, for instance, in Colombia, helping firms developing this joint catalog of PPE. In Tunisia, adding value to the products through this process of geographical indication and diversification. At the meso level, involving local and national institutional counterparts from the public and private sectors to promote these industrial safety protocols in the automotive sectors, which were then implemented in other sectors. In Tunisia, by diversifying the agro cluster production and also linking with tourism. And finally, in Colombia, setting a real, overall and comprehensive national sectoral approach to prevent contagion and ensure industry continuity. In Tunisia, finally, as I said, the JEBA cluster is just one of the many clusters. So what we did is a national campaign to promote typical food products all over the country, and even organizing national contests. With this, I conclude my presentation, and I'd like to thank you and ready to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Уважаемые коллеги, если есть вопросы...
Distinguished colleagues, if you have any questions, just ask them right now. It's a good time to ask questions. Actually,
your lessons is very important also for Russia, because we have such situations when industries and particular companies, some of them successfully reoriented to medical devices and other very actual topics, but some of them, and we heard it from our colleagues, they failed to cooperate with each other faster. And I think that was the cluster manager should do. And also I should take into account the second topic. It's also very actual, because it's interconnections of agriculture, then creative industries, because gastronomy is a creative industry, and plus tourism. And so it is now very hugely discussed in Russia to develop such self-sustainable places, not just mass agriculture, but places like that. So I hope that it will be very fruitful for discuss it further. And by the way, we will discuss further tourism topic with Asta. Thank you very much. And now I would like to give floor to Anatoly Valetov, head of the Moscow Innovation Cluster. Anatoly, добрый день. Можете говорить по-русски.
Very good day, Anatoly. You may speak either Russian or English. We have the simultaneous interpretation provided. Will you brief us within 10 or 15 minutes of the key decisions that the cluster had to make during the pandemic, or probably they had been planned in advance? And an additional question, a follow-up question: Moscow Innovation Cluster was designed as an IT platform. So the service digitalization capability is paramount for most clusters worldwide, because it had been the original concept. Had it played, has this situation played into your hands, and what would be your next steps in terms of interaction with economic actors in Moscow?
Всем, вы меня застали в отпуске, но я все равно рад присоединиться и рассказать о кластере. Если можно, я выведу презентацию.
Meet all of you and tell you a quick word about clusters. My presentation, I have shared it. Can you see it? Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Ну, да, наверное, вот из вашего второго вопроса про цифровую платформу я тогда сразу расскажу вначале, чтобы коллеги понимали, что из себя представляет кластер, прежде чем я какие-то примеры приведу, что мы делали в период пандемии, ну, первого этапа, скажем, она вроде как продолжается. Кластер активно мы начали работать чуть более года назад. Как Евгений правильно сказал, в основе кластера лежит цифровая платформа. То есть мы в этом отношении не стандартный такой классический кластер, может быть, вот, к которому коллеги привыкли обычно слышать или видеть, где есть какое-то территориальное такое образование, и там, по отраслевому признаку, там, по какому-то иному собраны какие-то компании, производственные, исследовательские, они там работают друг с другом на одной территории. Вот мы такую же историю решили сделать, только мы взяли всю Москву целиком, понимая, что в Москве есть все элементы инновационной экосистемы, и сотни исследовательских и образовательных учреждений, и тысячи промышленных предприятий, свыше 10 тысяч IT-компаний. Поэтому, естественно, малый бизнес, о котором мы будем сегодня говорить. Поэтому как всех этих игроков объединить между собой? Потому что то, что мы обнаружили, часто проблема в коммуникации, построении цепочек операционных между всеми этими элементами инновационной экосистемы лежит в отсутствии нормальных коммуникационных каналов. Поэтому цифровая платформа i.moscow и была призвана послужить тому, чтобы все желающие, кто так или иначе связан с инновациями, мог регистрироваться на этой платформе и далее находить, соответственно, там, партнеров в зависимости от потребностей, технологий, инвестиций и так далее. Помимо этого, платформа предлагает ряд сервисов, которые в том числе были особенно актуальны в период весны, когда первый там, начался этап пандемии. Сервисы разные, сегодня их 17, и платформа постоянно эволюционирует и дальше будет развиваться и добавлять новые сервисы.
Да.
So we're having some interference. Will you please turn off your mics, colleagues?
Да, кто-то говорил. Соответственно, ряд этих сервисов я перечислю чуть позже, но в целом, если мы говорим про кластер, мы видим, что у нас есть как бы основные направления поддержки бизнеса, это цифровое, при помощи платформы и сервисов, которые предлагает платформа. Это финансовая поддержка. Соответственно, мы как фонд Московский инновационный кластер также выдаем гранты в поддержку инновационных компаний. И это не финансовые меры поддержки. В первую очередь мы говорим здесь о программах развития, такие как акселерационные программы и технологические конкурсы. Ну вот здесь виден скриншот. Мы весной, как раз сразу в марте, разместили специальный раздел у нас на платформе «Бизнес против COVID». Соответственно, здесь мы начали собирать и совместно со Сколковым этот проект вели, нашим таким крупным инновационным центром. Собирали те проекты из самых различных отраслей, которые призваны были послужить в помощь бизнесу или там, конечным потребителям, людям для борьбы с, ну, скажем, если это как-то повлияло на их бизнес с точки зрения повышения эффективности, если мы говорим, там, скажем, об удаленной работе. Поэтому разного рода проекты мы собирали, чтобы они были доступны максимально большому количеству возможных потребителей или инвесторов. Ну, я вот уже начал в самом начале говорить, что из себя представляет Московский инновационный кластер. Конечно, в первую очередь, это цифровая платформа. Но, и, честно говоря, из нашего опыта, сколько мы не смотрели, похожих примеров у других городов, стран мы не увидели. То есть здесь драйвером этого проекта стал именно город Москва. И, собственно говоря, там какое-то время разрабатывалась платформа, как я сказал, чуть более года назад она была официально запущена, и сегодня на платформе зарегистрировано уже почти 20 тысяч инновационных компаний. И эта цифра растет каждый день. Начали мы с того, что работали только с московскими компаниями, но далее мы перешли и открыли доступ для всех российских компаний. И сегодня это уже 73 различных региона России, которые бизнес и компании, из которых регистрируются сегодня на нашей платформе, потому что это дает им однозначно взаимовыгодные возможности, так как если мы говорим о каких-то цифровых сервисах, таких как даже в период пандемии это было важно, когда какой-то из бизнесов говорил: ребята, мы сидим дома, но нам нужно изобрести, мы продолжаем работу исследовательскую, но нам нужно произвести опытный образец в лаборатории, как нам это сделать. И вот как раз сервисы цифровые, которые были на платформе, позволяли, скажем, в рамках сервиса биржи контрактного производства разместить необходимые чертежи и получить предложение от производителя совершенно в другом регионе Российской Федерации или лаборатории в Москве, да, где мы оцифровываем эти свободные мощности производственные, либо необходимые производственные или лабораторные помещения. И при помощи вот таких электронных сервисов
in the interpretation, will you please switch to the Russian language?
Внизу справа перевод, глобус нарисован. Сейчас у вас, скорее всего, там выкл написано.
Сейчас это, да.
Вот смотрите, демонстрация экрана, запись,
Look, shared screen. And
Перевод
below you may
английский
find the translation. So should I choose the Russian channel or the English one? Choose the Russian one. Okay, I push the button. Thank you so much then. Then go on. Should I start with the first slide? No, just continue. In essence, once again, let me reiterate, these are the main directions, the key pillars of the Moscow Innovation Cluster. This is what concerns the digital and different digital services offered by the platform and digitalization of the company's profiles, the production capacities, labs, or for instance, if we're speaking about startups or the profile with a view of the product, whether this is applicable for the market and digitalization of profiles of the corporations who are looking for new areas for investments. The financial actually is about supporting the companies financially. We are offering grants to them. This is the development program, accelerators and technological contests that we organize, which are aimed at bringing together small tech companies and startups with the biggest companies and corporations in the city. And the fourth pillar is the investment. Again, this is about arranging different services in order to bring together small innovative companies with investors. With this goal, actually, and in the nearest future, we are offering some new services to help small innovative companies to package their product, to help them with the financial model, with the preparation of the investor stack in order to ram them home to the end user and investor and to increase their chances to obtain necessary funding. At the same time, we realize that there are lots of investors nowadays, potential investors nowadays, who are investing in some traditional markets such as real estate or financial markets. And we're very much interested in bringing that interest towards the venture investing. Therefore, to this end, we are offering some training programs to train those investors and get them prepared for the venture investments. I spoke already about the platform services. I mentioned that we bring together 17 different services. The most important of them, let me highlight that, and what we supported during the COVID lockdown, the piloting. We started digitalizing for the companies their test production, offering the pilot platforms of the city and big corporations. During the lockdown, at one of the platforms, that was a municipal hospital, we managed to test necessary equipment, medical equipment, which helped the patients, COVID-19 patients and doctors, to somehow alleviate their sufferings when the symptoms were grave, and we eased the treatment, and therefore we increase the chances of most of the patients to survive. And using that pilot, other municipal hospitals started buying this equipment. And this happened during the lockdown in spring. There are other cases, other examples. Before, I said that there were companies which continued their lab work remotely, but in order to do that, they had to find a lab using digital services, the lab which would help them in developing the prototype, industrial prototype. This is also true of the financial help provided by the municipal authorities, by the city authorities. This year, the mayor's office allocated more than 90 billion rubles, more than $1 billion in terms of funding. And as far as the business worked remotely, we made it possible that all the applications to obtain the financial support could be submitted via internet. So our platform offered an opportunity for the business to submit the applications and successfully get necessary funding. I already mentioned the programs for startups. We are speaking more about offline support rather than anything else, but the specific feature for these programs is that unlike other programs implemented in Russia, usually these would be promoted by some corporate stakeholders, but at that platform we bring together dozens of different corporations, leading universities and academia and the municipal authorities, where we collect the requests and demands from the corporations and looking for the solutions available in the market, including the foreign ones. We're using our programs, for instance, when we arranged an accelerator of biomedical equipment, and this bidding was held during the lockdown, and among the applicants you could find a French company, and the solution itself actually helped to identify the heartbeat rate and the frequency of breathing, something which may result in a heart attack. And we didn't have any similar products in the Russian market. And nowadays, this company is very popular in the Russian market, and it signed a lot of agreements. And using our service of consulting innovative companies, we managed to help them with selecting a production site, and they're going to launch their production here in Moscow. In the framework of that program, we have two tracks. Moscow Accelerator, this is a corporate track where we introduce these innovative companies to big corporations, and the corporations would pay for the pilot projects. And another track is the investment program. Every industrial track would enjoy a pool of investors, and within the track they would monitor whether the solutions are required for, whether they are popular or not, what chances for scale-up are, and therefore they may take a decision whether to invest or not. We have some specific examples and cases, dozens of pilots, which we have already launched, although we started only last spring, but we have something to boast, including our support in piloting and testing. We managed to obtain some commitments from the investors, from the many funds which are participating in this program. Anatoly, you have just 1 minute left. Okay. And actually, this is the last slide, the investment platform, something I spoke already about before. And this is a double-faceted, so to say, platform. On the one hand, we help the companies to prepare the presentation. This is the investment packaging, so to say. And at our platform, again, remotely, businesses are invited to publish their teasers so that they could be available for the potential investors or potential corporations if the company is looking for some solution, some technology. And we also have an educational program, a training program, when we are training the investors to charter the venture investments, when the conventional investors are invited to pay attention to the venture market. Our funnel brings together thousands of innovative programs and projects, and our innovative platform will allow to remotely offer new services aimed at meeting different requests of the companies. We are ready to offer educational programs to help the investors and the tech companies come together, and this would be done with the support of the city authorities. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you, Anatoly. Colleagues, are there any questions to Anatoly? In essence, in my opinion, the cluster is quite good. This is a very ambitious attempt in a big city with a big concentration of corporations and startups. And R&D institutes, you know that 30% of R&D institutes are located in Moscow. It is an attempt to create in such a city a platform which would help to make it as possible as it can be to facilitate to the physical persons and legal entities to cooperate, to communicate. I think that this is a very far-reaching attempt, and we monitor that with great satisfaction. And I'm pleased to hear from Anatoly every now and then that they offer new tools and instruments. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution to our event. Thank you.
So now I would like to give a floor to Kai Uwe. He's a big friend of us and a director of Health Capital Berlin and Brandenburg, sorry. And what is interesting here, so now we are moving to medical. Anatoly has already said about experimentation and piloting in clinics in Moscow. And I wonder how in Berlin you deal with this disaster.
So thank you very much for inviting me here to this international exchange on how clusters are reacting on the COVID-19 crisis. Let me introduce. So I have no slides prepared, but just giving you some insight what we have done and what we perhaps have learned for the future. So first of all, just to give you an idea where we are, Berlin is not only, as you know, the political capital of Germany, but we regard ourselves as the health and life science capital of Germany, and thus we have the nice name of the health capital, Berlin-Brandenburg. There is in our area where we have around 6 million inhabitants, there is 400,000 people working in the life science sector, which is very significant percentage. It's 22,000 companies. It's a turnover of more than 30 million euros. So this is the biggest industry by far of all industries here. There's more than 30 pharmaceutical companies. There's more than 250 biotech companies. There's 300 medicinal technology companies. There's 130 clinics. And what is quite a special situation for us in Western Europe is that more than 50% of the clinical beds are really close to the city government. So this is a huge block and a huge entity, which makes collaboration with the industry quite easy. The biggest university in medicine in Western Europe is the Charité, the biggest clinical lab in Western Europe, and there is 8 technology parks with a dedicated life science focus. So there is quite a strong position. However, the corona pandemic was and is a huge challenge for the German society as well as for all stakeholders in medicine and healthcare and the life science industries. And in the first phase for us in the cluster, the aspects of science and communication were most important. And this is still true that this is important because there's a lot of false information available, and there's still people walking through the streets, and there is no corona, things like this. So communication is one key that we have to run. And then one task for us as a cluster was really to promote the experts of the Robert Koch Institute. The Robert Koch Institute is the German institute to handle this pandemic here in Berlin, and from the University of Medicine of the Charité, to bring them in a leading role for the information of politics and the general public. What was good is that the city of Berlin has, since a couple of years, three main topics for the society and for the industry, which is health, which is climate, and which is digitalization. So health is obviously the topic. Digitalization was very helpful in the crisis. So there was not the task to convince the politics that health is important. We have the advantage that the German Chancellor Angela Merkel is a natural scientist. So she's believing in facts, other than the guy in Washington. We had started really with a huge information campaign where this Robert Koch Institute was holding daily press briefings, where there was out of a sudden a new star, which was not from film or TV, which was a virologist, Christian Drosten, who has a daily and then later weekly blog to really provide information, and who was, by the way, the guy who was responsible for developing the first SARS-CoV-2 test system, PCR test system, which was made available to the world already in mid-January 2020. For us as a cluster, it was very important to stabilize the industry by giving information as to government support. And on the other hand, many companies provided much help in the production of protective gear, which was a problem in March and April, disinfection materials, as well as medicinal technology. So we as a company offered already 2 days after the first lockdown. So right now there is not real lockdown. It's contact restrictions. In the first lockdown, it took 2 days until we offered a hotline with 60 people to provide information to companies what government support is available. And there is up to now, I think, 15 support programs by the federal government in Germany, financial help for the company. It took us as a cluster 1 week. Remember, we are in a lockdown, so the people couldn't come to the office. It took us 1 week to start with a weekly newsletter on Corona information. So normal, we have a monthly newsletter, which is a little bit commercial. So total shift, not to say, hey, we are the greatest, but offering support for the local companies. It took us 2 weeks to start digital conferences. So as a cluster organization, as you know, the most important thing is bring people together, talk to people, talk about new solutions, new project. So we switched the entire program within 2 weeks on digital formats. Very helpful was the chemical industry, which was providing disinfection materials. So Berlin actually has been an industry location until 45. There is no chemical production here. There's pharmaceutical production. So the chemical industry was helping to provide this. It took us some weeks really to build up the production of face masks and all those things, which were traditionally coming from China, or at least from Asia. We have been very successful in creating hackathons to use the creative industry of startups. So that there was so many solutions, which is, in the end of the day, most of it was not really full medical solutions. It was solutions to help the people to buying stuff, to organize testing, to organize logistics. Very helpful startups in that time, and the startups really had difficult times financial wise. And with the head of the cluster, we were successful in a huge effort to build a new 500 people COVID hospital within 6 weeks. And then even here, the industry, just to mention Siemens Healthineers or Bayer company, have been very helpful. One very big lesson for me is that in a cluster structure, we have established communication, ways of communication, and everything is based on trust. And so the cluster was very helpful in this crisis situation because we could reach out to the people, we could organize the help, and we could organize that it's fine. And then a little bit later, I will tell you about some of the problems actually. In the later phase, really, of the pandemic, we were working more on structural improvements. One example, the German Corona app. So I'm green, everything is fine for me right now. The German Corona app has been developed by more than 26 players, actors, mainly from Berlin. It was quite fast on the market. We have in Berlin developed the basis of the regional and national test strategies. Testing still is a topic. In Berlin, we were quite fast in a situation that we could offer 30 to 50,000 PCR-based tests per day. Test strategy has been changed in the last 6 months several times. We are not now talking about antigen tests and have just recently finished a new test protocol that we provided to the local government, especially how to handle asymptomatic patient. Furthermore, a strategy for the collaboration of hospitals was developed so that we have right now 3 focuses for the really hard intensive care units and a number of second-tier hospitals that handle the normal patients. Finally, some lessons that we have learned through the pandemic process and for further pandemic preparedness. First is, I mentioned this, transparent information is critical. And here was the role of the cluster was really of importance. Second, whenever possible, go towards professional solutions. So obviously, politicians and their apparatus are not the best solutions for buying masks in China. So it was things were quite easy when we are going to buy in medicinal material by those that always buy medicinal material, which is in the big hospitals. And it was very easy when they were in charge to get the support, to get the materials from China within days. So find professional solutions. Third, there is a lot of criminal energy in the market. Everybody didn't know somebody who was delivering 5 million masks or whatsoever material. We got a lot of really shitty material. So in the end of the day, it's all about long-standing relationships and trust to build up the things. Fourth, there is a high level of solidarity in the pharma and biotech industry and in the industry and all. So a lot of people were helping, were providing test capacity for no charge. This was really a great experience. Fifth aspect, industry can find highly innovative solutions extremely fast in special situation. And if we are helpful, let me think especially of the vaccine solutions. So for me, it was impossible how fast we are now in the world with several vaccine solutions to very interesting from them coming from Germany. Sixth aspect is let us have in mind how important are the people providing care, the nurses and so on. This is a really problem right now in Germany. It's not about the medicinal technology. It's not about the money. The problem is really, do we have enough people that are interested right now and for the future to provide care? This will be a problem for the next 10 or 15 years with the pandemic or without. Number 6, number 7, not every branch of the healthcare industry is doing good in this pandemic. So the pharmaceutical industry is generally doing quite good. The hospitals have incredible to do. However, they have lost, of course, a lot of their turnover. Those operations not immediately necessary have been pushed in the future, and so the medicinal technology industry is doing not good. So they need support. So we could not go. It's good or bad. It's a very great situation, and well, we are not really prepared for the next pandemic. So we have to learn a lot, and we will take years and years on the regional, on the national, on the global level to improve our preparedness. And with this, I would like to stop and to thank you for your interest.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kaya. Colleagues, do you have questions? I have a question, by the way. You said that your country is developing several vaccines now, and what is your expectations? I wonder when do you think one of these vaccines could be available in mass market?
Well, so the general expectation now is I'm not talking about the Chinese vaccine. I'm not an insider of the Russian vaccine. So the daughter of Mr. Putin was vaccinated already months ago. I would expect it that on the mass market there will be international solutions available in February, March, something like this. So there will be more attempts, of course, until that time. Right now, the most advanced could be those BioNTech Pfizer solution. I think then there's CureVac will be a little bit later. Moderna, US American driven, could be February. AstraZeneca will come with news, I think, next week. So I think there's a couple of things coming towards February, March.
Thank you very much, guys. So it was a really fruitful and useful ideas, and what I bring for myself just now, so very fast. I see that crisis need very fast reactions, and cluster could help. Here I saw a role, and what is next? Solutions could be not only medical, a lot of digitalization and even organizational and social solutions. And maybe here also a place to organize new hackathons and accelerations and looking for solutions, teams and startups, because I'm not a doctor, but I think that a medicine, but I think that this coronavirus is with us for a long time. And these solutions could be found and could be prosperous and successful internationally. Yes, and the thought, of course, about professional services. We experienced the same problem in Russia, because if you do something quick, it could be not maybe the best and sustainable in the future. And expertise of the cluster experts of the industry, properly organized, could be very useful here. And so thank you very much. And я хочу передать слово Фаине Филиной, то есть получается...
Saying that, I would like to pass the floor to Faina Filina. Actually, we have 2 medical clusters, and it would be very interesting to see what is going on in Berlin.
So we will definitely now look at Moscow. The Moscow Medical Cluster flagship project by the government of Moscow. So it is of interest how they have been able to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, and what have they been able to do over such a short period of time? Can you hear me, colleagues? Well, yes. I hope we will have the interpretation. At the outset, I'd like to say and to tell you that last year, together with a cluster observatory, we did a research about the cluster success stories, and one of the factors is the communications, close communications and dense communications with international partners and domestic partners. And the pandemic showed that this is one of the success factors. And I'll tell you how we handled the pandemic, how we developed and what our concept is. I'll try to share my presentation. A couple of words about what the Moscow Medical Cluster is. Our cluster is unique. There are few clusters of this kind. It is a national medical cluster, but currently this is about infrastructure that will further evolve into the medical platform and research platform. Will be a showcase for the global and Russian medicine. It is a flagship project for the government of Moscow, and the goal of our cluster is better medical assistance in Moscow and Russia with the help of the transfer of the best international practices and technologies. This is our slogan. By and large, we are a constellation of infrastructures, and our activities are governed by a special federal law, number 160, allowing us to invite international clinics on our premises so that they act in line with their domestic protocols and they can apply drugs and medications that have not yet been registered on the territory of the Russian Federation. And these standards are based on the OECD guidelines and standards, and foreign specialists and professionals can work in those clinics without approval of their diplomas in the Russian Federation, which is quite a cumbersome procedure. And we can implement the breakthrough, the cutting-edge technology, and use the medications that are used in the OECD countries but are yet to be registered in the Russian Federation. And by 2029, we'll have around 10 to 15 national clinics operating on our premises. And 300,000 patients will receive high-quality medical assistance. The first facility is the Israeli Diagnostic Center. And these are the illustrations. And the second stage of the clinic is now being finalized. The therapy unit that will provide formidable medical assistance and treatment with a focus on the cancer treatment. And this is the layout demonstrating what facilities are being designed and constructed. Also, the Diagnostic and Therapeutical Center, Alpia Clinic from France, University Hospital from Strasbourg, France, Municipal Medical Center, and a lab that will be built jointly with Systema company. And we'll have a multi-purpose medical mall center. It will not be a shopping mall, but a medical mall with several clinics of different profile that will cater to a wide range of patients with different diseases. We are now looking into and considering some of the applications from France and Korea and Germany. We're in talks with German clinics. And here I have mentioned just the biggest medical facilities. When the pandemic broke out, it has become a challenge and a disruption for us because our activities are international, and with the borders closed, it's quite hard for us to pursue talks. We didn't treat COVID-19, although we have a polyclinic, and coronavirus is not our speciality and has not been our speciality. At the same time, we figured that we have some of the capabilities to help Russian doctors fight the pandemic and handle it. We have an ample network of international experts. Some of the partner entities in other countries have helped us pursue some activities that I will tell you a quick word about. Well, this one is related to the federal law that I have mentioned. This is about applying medications that are not registered in the Russian Federation. The Harassa Medical Clinic imported COVID antibody tests from Israel, and Muscovites received.
Очень важно, наверное, для любой организации, тем более для кластера, которого, так сказать, одной из основных целей является трансфер технологий. И хочу сказать, что пандемия это показала как раз важность вот этого расширения международных коопераций и позволили, наши как раз деятельности, наши связи позволили нам стать некой центральной площадкой, может быть, центром компетенций экспертных для московского здравоохранения, для российского здравоохранения, именно такой мостик между нами и экспертами из других стран. Соответственно, вот то, с чего я начала, что коммуникационная повестка, но с таким очень полезным, да, аспектом, она как раз является действительно ключевым принципом развития, успешного развития кластеров в таких условиях.
Спасибо большое, Фаина. Действительно отрадно видеть такие успехи. И даже зависть берет, что ваши конференции посвящают почти 10 тысяч человек, 8500. Это действительно, на самом деле, большой успех. Мы как университет.
Ну, это, конечно, 8500 это все 5, но тем не менее, это
на самом деле показывает востребованность той информации, которую вы доносите. И вот очень важная какая история, я считаю. Часто кластеры понимаются таким образом, что они помогают взаимодействовать только внутри, только вот как бы замыкают они. Это, конечно, неправильное, ошибочное понимание. Вот вы это демонстрируете, что кластер – это мостик, на самом деле, взаимодействия локального комьюнити, которые, конечно, друг с другом интенсивнее взаимодействуют, это нормально, естественно, полезно, но взаимодействовать мостик в другие регионы, страны, мир и прочее. Мы видим, как востребована, на самом деле, вот эта информация сейчас становится медицинская. В данный момент она, конечно, на вес золота. И я благодарен вам за вашу деятельность. Спасибо большое. Хочу передать слово нашему следующему спикеру, Асте. Смотрю, что появится Аста. Hello, hello once more, Asta. So we all know, I'm sure that many Russians want to visit Iceland, particularly me. So it's an amazing story of absolute success in tourism sphere, of course. And so it's very interesting to know how you deal with the success, first of all, of course, and how you achieve it. Maybe not everybody in Russia know about it, and it will be very appreciated for you to say a few words. But tourism sector suffered a lot, so maybe it's the major sector which suffered a lot from the coronavirus, and that is why I wonder how you deal with this disaster. What are you doing? How you are helping to survive? Thank you. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, and really good. Nice to be here with you today. Yeah, I think I need to speak at the speed of light now because the time is almost over, but I will try to make some sense.
No, Asta, we have 15 minutes, so...
Okay, so good. Just to start a little bit with the success story of Iceland, because not everybody knows that from the end of 2010 until maybe 2017, the tourism growth, the visitor was growing 4 times. So it was like 400% of growth. Not all the growth was sustainable because it was so fast in such a short period of time. So we had to learn really quickly, and we kind of just had tourism in our lab. So it wasn't that we sat down and planned for such a huge growth in such a short time. But we managed to do it in a kind of a really good way. We used a lot of innovative ways to speed up all the process of developing all these new companies and so on. And the cluster actually was established 5 years ago in the middle of the highest growth. And more or less the companies themselves, they needed some platform to communicate, and they needed to be connected through this competitive projects and programs. So the cluster is it's not a governmental tool in Iceland, and it's not for profit. It is owned by the companies themselves, and then we cooperate with the universities and the government, of course, in special projects. So now actually there is a policy making in Iceland to have a formal policy for clusters. So we are really excited to see how that goes, because it's and I think this pandemic has also shown how clusters have matter in communicating through different kind of sectors and to different kind of organizations. So I think that the clusters have a kind of rebirth kind of thing now. So I just wanted to show you where we are situated in the world. You can find Russia there. This is actually the map of Iceland Air. That is our airline, and this is their roadmap. So this is all the destinations that have direct flights into Iceland, and this is also to show you how Iceland has become this hub in the middle of the North Atlantic between Europe and America. So that has been really important to build up this strong hub for the tourism. And also just to show you why tourism matters so much now, because it has, like, after the crisis in 2008, where the financial crisis hit Iceland really, really hard, there was this economic growth that the tourism sector brought to Iceland. It mattered a lot, and the 40% of foreign currency revenues come from tourism, and 25,000 jobs, which is 15% of all jobs in Iceland. So it really matters to to get this industry back up to its feet really in a sustainable way, of course. The tourism cluster has had a lot of actions since March, since the beginning of the first pandemic.
Марта, с начала первой волны, предпринял серьезные усилия. Мы практически за день перешли в области нашей деятельности, повестки дня, встреч в цифровую среду. Сначала мы использовали Skype, потом Zoom, Teams и Zoom сейчас мы используем. Я покажу вам наши цифровые инструменты чуть позже. Мы составили карту ситуации и начали вести переговоры с заинтересованными сторонами, с людьми, конечно, удаленно, пытаясь вступить с ними в контакт, получить информацию и помочь найти наилучшее решение в их непростой ситуации. Первые пару месяцев мы просто их подбадривали. Надеялись, что это будет довольно короткий период времени. Но сейчас мы понимаем, что минимум это будет длиться год, минимум на наших семинарах. Мы попытались сделать упор на том, как вести маркетинговые стратегии и взаимодействовать с внешним миром, потому что в этот раз не только Исландия вступила в кризис, а весь мир. Все пытались нащупать какие-то для себя пути выхода, и все пытались сделать так, чтобы можно было пережить эту пандемию. Мы занимались отношениями с клиентами, с тем, чтобы компании не растерялись наработанные связи и контакты. Было необходимо все это сделать так, чтобы не просто были отменены поездки, возвращены деньги, но чтобы все эти поездки были просто сдвинуты вправо, то есть перенесены на более поздний срок, но оставались забронированными. Платформы, которые мы используем, я уверен, что вы знаете большую часть этих площадок, Zoom, Teams, самые распространенные. Потом, кроме этого, другие платформы и площадки, социальные сети, Newslabs. И последние 3 недели, это, конечно, не самый новаторский или креативный продукт или способ. Мы звоним людям, просто звоним. Они поднимают трубку, и мы говорим с ними, потому что мы понимаем, что многие сейчас находятся в изоляции, заперты в комнате, ограниченные, они пытаются получить информацию и видят, что везде много конференций. Но часто им нужно просто поговорить о своей ситуации, выговориться. И мы получаем положительные отклики и много советов, как помочь компаниям. Я вам рекомендую тоже попробовать эту старую проверенную временем методу для того, чтобы как-то наладить контакт с людьми, потому что просто многие хотят быть нужными, не хотят, чтобы о них забывали. Наши проекты, хочу сказать, что в начале апреля мы составили план действий, о котором я быстро расскажу. И в этом плане действий мы на 2 вещах сделали упор: инноваций и усиление компетенций и устойчивое развитие. Все наши проекты проходят через эти 2 точки: создание инноваций и устойчивое развитие наших компаний. Наш план действий по возрождению туризма, по перезагрузке туризмом, потому что в марте надеялись, что долго это не продлится. Мы знали, что нам нужно перезапустить наши программы и перезагрузиться в нашем сознании, выйти на более устойчивые какие-то рельсы развития. Мы много лет пытались не запаздывать за этими темпами роста, успевать за ними. И попытались просто отдышаться для начала после этой гонки и понять, чего мы хотим. Через неделю ВТО выпустила свою программу по перезагрузке туризма, восстановлению туризма, и она во многом повторяет наши постулаты. Мы были очень горды этим. Это очень важно, что мы думаем в унисон. И мы смогли использовать устойчивые, рациональные, ответственные методы в нашей работе. Сейчас все в режиме выживания и будут находиться в нем еще какое-то время, уже долго в нем находятся. В таком режиме у вас, конечно, тает вера в будущее и уверенность в себе, но мы пытаемся подтолкнуть всех к трансформации, к принятию нового мира, новой реальности. И надеемся, что компании будут готовы возобновить деятельность, когда разрешат вновь в полет и все поймут, что это безопасно. Вначале вы говорили о том, что было для нас легко и что было тяжело. Хочу сказать, что легко обучать людей. Те, кто редко сидел раньше перед компьютером, а сейчас они начали активно общаться в интернете, они учатся чему-то новому, познают это. Я даже не думала, как много людей присоединится к нам. Но сейчас мы видим, что постепенно начинает у многих мотивация падать. И вот поддержать ее – это очень непросто. Потому что ситуация длится уже долго, и многие теряют веру. И вот, пожалуйста, вот какие у нас на конференциях заставки. В середине июня у нас практически не было новых больных, новых случаев, и границы открылись в июне-августе. Все подумали, что надо ехать туда, к нам. Со всего света приехали люди, и лето было хорошим. До середины августа у нас была такая ситуация, а потом все снова закрылось, к сожалению, с ростом заболеваемости. Вторая и третья волна, конечно, переживаются труднее, потому что все воспряли духом, ожили, а потом их вновь ждало разочарование. К сожалению, пришлось снова закрыться. И многим компаниям нелегко сейчас. Нам нужно, конечно, с ними работать в эту третью волну. И у нас проходят хакафоны, акселераторские программы. И мы видим, что кто-то у нас заперт в столице. Мы общаемся и с ними. компании и люди. Со всеми мы ведем диалог. Мы делаем все возможное, чтобы у них была возможность участвовать в встречах и акселераторских программах, которые в другое время они бы, наверное, не посетили, не знали бы о них. Но сейчас прекрасна для этого возможность. Нам нужно думать о людях и разрабатывать программы с тем, чтобы им помочь. И мы ограничиваем, возможно, нашу активность экономическую больше, чем стоило бы. И у нас 7 регионов в Исландии. Мы начали конкурентную программу. 6 недель мы взяли все регионы, раз в неделю цифровую встречу организовывали онлайн. И они могли встречаться на местах также, в своих регионах, даже физически, работать над проектами, смотреть, какие у них были выводы и результаты предыдущих проектов и исследований. Это в первый раз мы провели такой вид деятельности в нашей стране. Я думаю, что это какое-то преимущество, которое подарила нам пандемия, потому что раньше мы не могли подумать о том, чтобы собрать людей со всей страны, чтобы они раз в неделю встречались, обменивались опытом. Это программа, магистерская программа фактически.
Это разработка, которой мы прямо сейчас и занимаемся, так что это наши планы на будущее, то, чем мы хотим заниматься в будущем. Хотя, когда вы начинаете что-то новое, на вашем пути могут встретиться препятствия, но мы с нетерпением ждем, когда мы сможем закончить этот проект. Большое спасибо. Я думаю, что на этом я и закончу свое выступление. Большое спасибо вам. Итак, нам сейчас сказали до свидания. Хотите задать вопрос? Сказали до свидания. Хорошо. Большое спасибо, Аста. Действительно, был очень интересный случай. И что было совершенно новым для меня, я не слышал в других случаях, это психологический аспект объединения людей, когда люди встречаются, общаются друг с другом. В такой непростой ситуации туризм – это один из столпов экономики Исландии, и тогда что можно будет сделать на следующем этапе, следующим шагом? Я надеюсь, что этот кризис укрепит ваш кластер, и вы вернетесь, соответственно, на траекторию роста. Так что большое вам спасибо, большое спасибо. И теперь давайте заканчивать нашу сессию. Я перейду на русский.
Да, спасибо большое, коллеги, что нашли время собраться в такое сложное время, обсудить эту очень актуальную тему. На самом деле, конечно, каждое выступление содержало очень много нюансов, интересных лайфхаков, которые нужно пристально смотреть, и тогда их можно найти и попробовать имплементировать. Главное, что я вижу и прошло красной нитью среди всех выступлений, это то, что, конечно, в кризис нужно двигаться быстрее и договариваться быстрее. И кластер это позволяет за счет наработанных сетей и доверия. Вот если где-то этого не было в регионах, к сожалению, вот не удавалось быстро собраться, переориентироваться на новые рынки, выйти с комплексными продуктами, импортозаместить, как мы часто говорим, иногда не совсем качественный зарубежный импорт и прочее. Вот это то, что кластер, мы сейчас вот с вами увидели на кейсах, действительно помогает. Конечно, кластер это тоже, еще раз хочу подчеркнуть, это то, что связывает локальные комьюнити, локальные сообщества с миром. Это очень важно, и вот Московский медицинский кластер показал это своей активностью, востребованностью своей аналитики, своих мероприятий. Не только, кстати, для Москвы. Я так понимаю, вот эти вот 8500 медиков, это были медики со всей страны.
Да, со всей страны, да, Евгений.
Конечно, то есть кластер должен брать на себя ответственность, он не просто какая-то региональная история, это центр компетенции, как минимум национального масштаба, и он таким же образом, собственно, и должен себя мыслить, и тогда вот мы видим, будет успех. Конечно, цифровизация сервисов происходит, мы это видим, и спасибо за то, что Анатолий Валетов поделился своим опытом. Ну, конечно, многое задумывалось заранее, прямо скажем, из этих цифровых сервисов. Но получается, что этот прогноз сбылся, и, конечно, видимо, даже и меры поддержки скоро будут цифровизированы. Поэтому, наверное, надо готовиться уже сейчас к этому. И кластер уже сейчас может общаться со своими участниками, собирать хакатоны, искать подходящие IT-решения, работать с барьерами, которые вот мешают уже сейчас переходить в цифру. Ну и, конечно, то, что сказала нам Аста, это очень важная психологическая, мне кажется, тоже составляющая, ее нельзя недооценивать. Вот это вот чувство общности, чувство локтя, это то, что очень часто помогает. Что вот как показывают последние события, этот кризис, человек, ну, он во многом слаб. И, конечно, переоценивать себя тоже не всегда правильно. А вот вместе общаться с себе подобным, с людьми, которые в этой ситуации оказались сложной, в профессиональном сообществе, если это правильно организовано, это может быть полезно для того, чтобы пережить это сложное время. Спасибо большое. Хочу благодарить всех участников. Я получил огромное удовольствие от дискуссии. Надеюсь, вы тоже. И у нас был уже семинар летом. Он был такой общероссийский по антикризисным практикам. Сейчас у нас международный семинар. Я надеюсь, что мы продолжим, потому что, ну, к сожалению, вторая волна. Вот, и буду рад видеть вас еще раз на наших следующих мероприятиях. До свидания, коллеги. Goodbye.
До свидания, до свидания.
До свидания.